Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nick from ArchCityPLO.com and Arch City Poker. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving you some bonus PLO content. And I think over the next couple of videos, I'm going to do that. This video, we're going to talk about low stakes PLO strategy in a very general sense, pre and post flop. The next video, I'm going to cover a hand history review, giving you guys kind of a preview of what that looks like on the new site, what kind of content you can get on that site. But let's start in this video, like I said, with low stakes PLO strategy. So pre-flop, you need to focus on nuttiness. You are going to be involved in multi-way pots almost no matter what. Even if you 3-bet, a lot of times players are going to cold call. You're just going to end up in 3, 4, 5-way pots. So you need to focus on high-ranking double-suited combos, large pairs that hopefully have some kind of connectedness to them. And then if you do have unpaired single suited combos, they need to be very connected, essentially rundowns. And compared to the other players at the table, it's going to seem like you're playing much tighter than they are. It's because you are. And this is how you exploit them in a very general sense. A lot of players that are transitioning from no limit to PLO, or players that are just learning PLO for the first time, they think because they have 2 extra hole cards, because they see everybody else playing 50 to 80% of the hands, that they should be also, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. You absolutely must put yourself in a position to succeed post-flop and PLO by having that proper nuttiness, so you need to focus on that. Now, post-flop, if somebody asks me, Nick, post-flop, what should I generally think in PLO? The one main thought that I would always leave them with is that you need to think to yourself, if stacks are threatened, and especially if there's a lot of money left behind, which there often is in live low stakes PLO settings, if you are going to go ahead and get it in and commit, you need to think to yourself, am I ahead in this situation or am I flipping? Because if you're on the other side of that and you are flipping or crushed, that's going to be the scenario that gets you into a lot of trouble in PLO. And yeah, there's going to be more variance in PLO, there's going to be more swings, it's going to be a little bit more volatile, but if you can consistently get it in ahead or flipping instead of flipping or crushed, then as simple as it sounds, you're going to be making a lot of money in the long run in theory. So I think that would be the main thought that I would have you guys, or I would leave you with post-flop. But to get a little bit more specific, think about your playability and your visibility on future streets. Now, those two concepts, it would take a much longer time to get into those. On my site, I cover those kinds of concepts. That's the kind of content that I'll provide as far as theoretical framework. But essentially think to yourself, what does my hand look like on future streets? Do I feel comfortable bloating the pot now? And are there enough turns and rivers that are safe enough for me that I feel safe on, essentially, to where bloating the pot now is okay? Or do I need to play my hand a little bit more cautiously? Because if I bloat the pot now, there's a lot of turns and rivers that come that I don't know where I stand. My opponent could have one of the many draws that are there. So bloating the pot now doesn't make a lot of sense because we're not going to be able to fight for that pot. We're not going to be able to realize our equity. So those are some very general thoughts and concepts that I'll leave you guys with post-flop. And, obviously this is a shorter video, so I will leave you with a couple final thoughts that I have, some misconceptions about the game. If a lot of you guys have never played before, maybe you play in your casino, you play live low stakes no limit, but you've thought about playing PLO, but you believe that maybe it's just a gambler's game or it's like a carny game. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. It only is perceived that way because players just played too many hands and they get themselves into spots where they have really middling like combo draws, weak 2 pairs, bottom set with no help, in a lot of these spots where there's a lot of money left, and they think of their hands as they would in no limit, and then they commit way too often. They overvalue absolute hand strength, and they overestimate their equity in the pot. So it's perceived to be that carny game because you do see stacks flying around more often, but it doesn't mean that these players are getting it in the best way, the most profitable manner. It takes a very skilled player to be a very good PLO player. So definitely a misconception as far as it just being like a carny game, essentially. Most players really treat it that way without understanding what's supposed to be really happening in theory. And a lot of those simple theoretical concepts, once again, those are the types of things that I cover on my new site. I cover those hand history reviews also. You can tie those together. Very simplified strategies that will help get you guys started out on the right foot. A couple more misconceptions, a couple of my favorites. One is that players think that you always have to be all in if you're in a hand or you're just going to be folding. That's the furthest thing from the truth. There are definitely pots where we should be trying to play a smaller pot or a medium-sized pot. You don't always need to be all in PLO. It's the same as no limit. We're going to play the larger pots as well. The last, or last but not least, one of my favorite is that when you bet, you always have to bet pot. People see it in the structure, pot, limit, Omaha. Yes, there are a lot of scenarios where it makes a ton of sense to bet pot, but there's actually a ton of scenarios where you're going to be better off betting half pot or even smaller than that. So once again, some general concepts, whether they are pre-flop, post-flop, misconceptions. But hopefully this video will give you guys a little bit of a better understanding as far as low stakes PLO strategy, specifically live low to mid stakes PLO. But if you guys have any questions or comments, of course, let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, hit that subscribe button, click the link, check out archcityplo.com, and I think you guys will be very happy with what you find there. So I will see you guys in the next video.